Patrick Cook here. So welcome to session number 16 of our tutorial series. This is series 4, which is titled Fun with Mandelbulb3D Mutations. In this session, what I wanted to do is introduce you to an idea where you can utilize the MutaGen to build a library of Mandelbulb files or projects. Now, when I was, it's kind of frustrating because with the Mandelbulb, what happens is you wind up creating so many interesting Mandelbulb graphics that you can't possibly use them all. So what I found over the years that I've been using the Mandelbulb3D fractal generator is that when I come across something interesting, well, I'm on a project and I'm pursuing maybe an animation, or I'm just kind of in a discovery process. But I run across an interesting graphic, but I can't use it at the time, or I just don't have the time to pursue it. So what I do is I save it off into file folders, and I refer back to those at some point if I'm looking for some inspiration or something to do, which doesn't happen that very often. I got a pretty full plate. But what I've done over the years using the Mandelbulb3D fractal generator is I have created a personal Mandelbulb3D graphic library, and I wanted to take this session and introduce you to an easy way to build your own personal Mandelbulb3D graphic library using the MutaGen. All right, now it's actually pretty cool. Now, let me show you. So the first thing you want to do is to go into Prefs and go into your any directories. Now, I've already set this up, but what I've done is I pointed my M3I default folder to my library, which I'm calling Pat's Mandelbulb3D Library, okay? And I've also pointed my M3P default folder to that library folder, and also if I create JPEG and PNGs to that same library folder. Okay, all right. So let's pull that up over here. Let's get it up on the screen where we can refer to it. There is my Mandelbulb, all right, folder. Okay. That should be right there, and we can just kind of watch this folder as we work. Now, I've got a very simple, the default graphic up here. I'm just going to use this just as as a place to be able to keep our demonstration simple. I'm going to call up the MutaGen. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mutate this, but what I want to do, and I had talked about this in an earlier session, what I want to do is I want to engage in a full-out discovery. So I'm going to maximize all of the probability for my options. I'm also going to maximize the strength, because what I'm trying to do here, let's just say I'm in a mode where I've got an hour and I want to get some ideas, but I don't have the time right now to pursue each of the Mandelbulb graphic ideas, all right, but I want to build a library. Now, let's say I've got the time to kill. Okay. So I'm gonna get into maximum discovery mode, which is what I call full probability, full strength, and I'm going to mutate. In a previous session, when I had this exchange add and remove turned on, if you recall, I actually had an error that occurred because it was trying to assign a formula to a formula slot that didn't exist. So I'm kind of taking my chances here by going into this, what I call full discovery mode. All right, but this one ran fine, so we're okay. Now, here's what I do. I look at this and I say, that's my base, and I look around and I'm saying, is there anything here that is interesting that I might want to utilize at some point in the future? All right, let's just pick a couple examples. Let's say, no, this is interesting right here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to send that, I right mouse click and I send that to the main editor. I'm going to calculate it. I don't have to calculate it, but I'm doing this so that we can see it as we talk. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go save this, but I want to save it as a JPEG and an M3P, a parameter file. I'm going to save that. Now this takes me to my folder, all right, and I am going to I'm just going to give it a number, okay? There we go. So now we see here in my library folder that I actually have a JPEG with the exact same name, file name, as my M3P. The only difference is the extension of the file name. Okay, so there's my first entry into my Mandelbulb library. Let's go get another one. Let's say I like this one too. I think I might be able to use this in the future. Right mouse click, send to main editor, save it as a JPEG and a parameter file. I'm going to click on this one and then just change the number. All right, and there's my second. There's my, oh, look at that. I didn't render it. All right, so let's calculate that. All right. Now let's go save this as my JPEG, and I'm going to overwrite number 2. Yes, overwrite it. There's my JPEG. Okay. All right. So we have to calculate it in order for this to render out so that it gets the JPEG file. Good. All right. So let's say, well, this is interesting. Let's pull that one up to the main editor. Let's calculate it. We learned to do that. JPEG plus the parameter. Click on that. I'm going to call this number 3. Save it. Okay. There's my third one. All right. Let's, what else do we have in here that's interesting? Okay. All right. So let's do this. Let's mutate again. Now again, we're full out, maximum probability and maximum strength. All right. And I've just mutated again. All right. And there's a few more to go here. It takes longer because there's more for it to do. All right. Now we just have to kind of brace ourselves in case the MutaGen throws an error, typically because it's trying to add a formula and the formula doesn't exist in the installation folder. Okay. But we see here that it's cranking along. It's still half done. All right. But while this is working, let's see if we can get back over here and kind of take a look. Let's see if we can do that. All right, so now the MutaGen is still working. It does seem to be hanging. So it's possible that it's encountered an error and it can't proceed. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Change of plans. I'm going to cancel this. I'm going to cancel it. So I just stop mutating. Is there anything here I'm interested in? Nah, not really. Not really. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mutate again. Now, all I'm doing here is I'm just kind of demonstrating building a library. All right, now this is really taking some time. This is really working hard. Okay. All right, so Mandelbulb just crashed on me. All right, that's okay. This is how we learn. And I believe what happened is that it ran into a formula error and took the application down. So this is a good example of the MutaGen is a pretty cool tool, but when you really crank out the maximum probability and the maximum strength, you are kind of in some risky territory. But that's okay. We didn't lose anything in this particular scenario. So what we're going to do is we're going to end this session here. In the next session, we're going to pick this up and we're going to see if we can continue to build our library, maybe not as aggressively. Okay? All right. I'll see you in the next session.